Hello, humane marketers. Sarah Znakrocha here. Welcome to another episode of the Humane Marketing Podcast, a place to be for the generation of marketers who cares. This is the show where we talk about marketing your business in a way that feels good to you, is aligned with your values, and also resonates more with your conscious customers because it's not pushy, ethical, and also beautiful. So if you're a regular here, you know that I'm organizing the conversations around the 7 Ps of humane marketing. And if you're new here and this is your first time, welcome. I'm so excited you're here. You may want to download your one-page marketing plan with the 7 Ps of humane marketing in the form of a mandala at humane.marketing/one page, the number one and page. So again, humane.marketing/one page. And with that, with no further ado, let's dive into today's conversation. Hi, Janene. So happy to have this conversation with you. Yay. I'm so glad Melita introduced the two of us.
Yeah, me too. Great to be here.
So, Janene, we're going to be talking about pricing. It's kind of one of the I'd say it's definitely a hot topic. You know how I have the humane marketing mandala, and one of the P's is pricing. And so I always have in each kind of season, I have one of the episodes about pricing. And it's definitely one that a lot of people listen to because let's face it, it's not easy for us business owners. So I want to ask you that question, why it's not easy. But maybe before that, tell us a little bit about you and how you got into pricing. They call you the pricing lady. So tell us how that all came about. Yeah. And share a little bit of your story with us.
Okay, yeah. So thank you, first of all, for having me here. And welcome to all those of you who are watching and listening. I started my career, I'm US born. I grew up in California. I started my career as a structural engineer. And after a few years of practicing, I decided it wasn't what I wanted and ended up, long story short, ended up in product management. And the first thing that they handed me was a price list, and it was 20 years old. And without any commercial background or any real marketing know-how, I knew something was wrong with that and took it upon myself to not just redo my price list, but all the price lists, and really gave everything a refresh. And that was really my first foray or my first experience in pricing. I can honestly say I had no real background in it, but I just knew that was wrong and that we needed to at least fix that. After it was with that company, I came to Switzerland in 2001. And when I decided to stay here, then I was hired as a global pricing manager for Siemens Building Technologies. And that was in 2004. And it's been all pricing all the time since then. So it's been nearly 20 years of just pricing. I worked in also in another industry, in the agricultural industry, agrochemicals and seeds industry for a while. And then in 2015, started my own business. And at the time, I didn't know what to call myself. A coach, a consultant, and I didn't really care for either of the terms. And one day I was explaining to someone that when I would do projects in the corporate world, I was traveling all over the place, and I'd walk into a new location with a new group of people to kick off a pricing project, and walk up to them and start introducing myself. Hey, I'm Janene. I'm here for the pricing project. And they go, yeah, I know you. You're the pricing lady. And she goes, well, why didn't you call yourself that? I was like, I don't know. Let's do it. And so now I use it. I leaned into it fully and use it. And I find it very easy. It's a nice way to, first of all, introduce myself, because it always puts a smile. Either people are confused at first if they're not native English speakers. They're like, what is that? But usually people smile. It's easy to remember.
Right.
And it sort of breaks the ice. So for me, it fits the bill of not saying I'm a coach or I'm a consultant, which makes me a little bit more general, but it puts me in a very different position. It's very clear what I work with and what I do.
Yeah, and it kind of has this familiar tone to it. It's not like, oh, I'm the pricing expert, it's like I'm the pricing lady. I know a thing or two about pricing.
It's approachable. That was one of
Yeah.
the things that when I worked on my branding, I kept using the word fun. And of course, the people who are helping with the branding experts were like, no, don't use the F word.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people try to do that and it's very general. And I understood that. And then one day I realized it was about being approachable. Most small businesses may feel that, consultants are out of reach for them.
Right.
That it's not something that's really available to them. And I really wanted to work with small businesses, and I am approachable. And, I work a little bit differently than you might with a typical consultant. Although I can work in that way, I prefer to work with people in a more approachable way and fun. Pricing can be fun. And I've actually had people tell me specifically that, they really dreaded going to that workshop, that pricing workshop or course or whatever it was, but it was actually really a lot of fun for them. And to me, that was, high praise.
Yeah, totally. It's funny because for me as well, I think about pricing and it's like, math and numbers and that kind of stuff comes up and that's only a very small part of it, I'm sure, but we'll dig into that a little bit today. So yeah, why don't we go back to my initial question that I thought, why is it so hard for us to price as small business owners, to put a price on our services? What have you found out over the last 20 years?
A great question, Sarah. So in my experience, there's really two reasons. One is that nobody ever taught you how. Yeah, right. It's like, if nobody ever taught you how to ride a bike, you'd figure it out possibly by yourself, but you'd have quite a bit of scrapes and bruises and bumps and maybe some mild trauma. Depending on how quickly you were able to do it. And it's the same with anything else as well as with pricing. If nobody's ever showed you how, then why would you expect for it to be just something that you would know how to do and it would be easy and without any struggle? It's a little bit illogical to think that it would be. Nobody's ever pulled us aside in school and said, okay, Sarah, 30 years from now, when you start your own business, this is how you're going to set the price of your packages, right? They don't do that. And funnily enough, most people don't realize this. While they do teach about pricing in MBAs, they don't actually teach you how to go about setting your prices. They talk about, well, there's, penetration strategies and skimming strategies, and there's price elasticity. They use all these big fancy words, but they don't actually tell you how to go about setting those prices. So most people don't know how. That's the first reason.
Right.
The second reason.
Can I just go in there?
Sure.
Because also what came to mind is for the MBAs, probably because I've worked at an international management school here in Lausanne, and they have a big MBA program. And so I think when they teach about pricing, they look at big companies. They don't necessarily look at the small business owner and the small entrepreneur as an example, right? And that I think also probably leads to I don't know what you're going to say for the second reason, but I have a feeling that it has to do more with the personal aspect as well.
Yes, it does. It does. You're right. I would say those programs are geared towards more corporates.
Yeah.
Yet again, I would say a lot of corporates are not very good at setting and managing their prices either. Yeah. I mean,
even the corporates are not good at it.
How
are we going to figure it out?
They do struggle with it. They struggle with different aspects of it. But if you think about in the larger company, who's usually responsible for setting the prices, a lot of times it's the product manager.
Right.
And the product manager's background is not a marketing one.
Right.
They're an engineer, or they're an agronomist, or they're a scientist, or a chemist.
Right.
They have no commercial background.
No. Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
So it's it's a very important aspect. In a larger company, a lot of people are responsible for it. Of course, in a smaller company, you got to wear all the hats, the finance hat and the marketing hat and the sales hat, so on and so forth. And that comes to, like you said, the second aspect of it, which is very personal, and it has to do with your core beliefs around money, success, and worthiness. And that is, that is really something that comes in full force for most small business owners, because it shouldn't, but for many people, it feels like that price that they're setting is somehow a reflection of them personally.
Right.
And being able to make, that disconnect, you're not, I used to have a program called Speak, Believe, and Charge Your Worth. And I always had a real problem with charge your worth being in that phrase. I couldn't find a better way to say it, so I stuck with it for a while, but because it's not your worth, it's the value of what your products or services or software bring the customer. And being specific with your language in that way can be very important. Most of us have hangups with money, success, and worthiness that play a sabotage role in the background of our decision. So I got off the call with a client who is Dutch. And I've had several clients who are Dutch, and they always think that the price has to be the lowest price in the market. But that is, something that comes from, in large part, the Dutch culture, from their families, from their upbringing, that, it always has to be the lowest price. Now, many of those clients are operating in Switzerland, where people are generally willing to pay a bit more. They're not always looking for the cheapest solution. And yet they're operating with this completely other mindset in a market that doesn't match that mindset. And it really makes it hard for them to feel like they can charge more. So that's just one example.
Yeah. I mean, we could do an hour just on this topic alone, right? And that's, you work with clients on that. It's part of my Marketing Like We're Human program, because it is like, if you don't do the deep work right there, I honestly think you can never figure out the pricing. And it's so interesting. You're bringing up different cultures, so that matters. But then also, how you grew up and all of these influences that obviously by the time we are ready to launch our business, well, we've been influenced by all of this. So we come with this baggage that is just like, and it's so different from being an employee in a corporate where it has nothing to do with you. Even if you are the one setting the price, it has nothing to do with you, where here it has everything to do with you, or you think it has everything to do.
It does. Yeah. It's even, in the corporate world. So to me, there's two sides to pricing. There's, the more concrete side, which is the numbers and the figures, which generally feel more concrete. And then there's the psychological side. I always tell people, somewhat jokingly, but I actually mean it in all seriousness, is that pricing is all about the psychology, baby. And you have to wiggle your eyebrows when you say that.
I don't think I'm
not doing it very well today. I'm out of practice, because whether it's a small company or a big company, the psychology, your personal psychology, the psychology of your organization, and this I've seen in large companies, the sales team thinks that price is the most important factor from the customer's perspective. I will tell you, 9 times out of 10, when we did the research, we found it was maybe in the top 5, usually within the top 10. But if your sales team thinks it's number 1, that is going to impact how they behave when they're having sales discussions with your customers. So it's not just a small business thing. It happens in both sides. And when it comes to psychology, you have the psychology internal to your business. For a small business, your psychology usually, and that of your employees. But then you also have the external psychology towards the market, towards the customer. So it has many different facets to it.
Yeah, I want to talk about, so we addressed the internal psychology a little bit, because it has to do with, who you are, what you believe, whether you believe that you are worthy, whether you ever sell anything anymore or not, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to really truly believe that you're worthy without ever getting a client again.
Right.
And then there's the external psychology. And I talk about that also in my Marketing Like We're Human book. That's kind of cheeky psychology that we're taught in marketing and kind of this online sales world. So I'm really curious to hear more about that and your points of view and what's true, what's not, and how to deal with it when we want to apply this humane approach to running a business with ethics and not cheat people into buying your stuff just by using some kind of psychology hack. So talk to us about that.
Okay. Before I get into that, let me just make one more comment. So one of the things that I've learned in having my own business is I thought this was a career development journey, when in fact it's been a personal development journey from day -2 until the day I stop. It will continue to be a personal development journey. And that's also one of the reasons that this personal psychology plays such a big role. So you're constantly being pushed outside of your comfort zone. Pricing is certainly one of those areas. The value of what you offer is certainly one of those areas. And being able to have the strength and the courage to step outside your comfort zone to tackle these things is what's going to enable you to keep pushing forward in your business and be there to deliver the great things that you want to deliver to your clients. I truly believe that. And I'm sure that people told me that before I started. I'm sure I did not understand it.
I know.
But it is 100% my reality. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good preface for what's coming next.
Okay, so now you wanted to talk about the psychology. So the external psychology, there are a lot of things, a lot of studies out there, a lot of tricks of the trade, if you will. I'm not sure I like that terminology, but when it comes to having a humane business, and I'm not going to say that using them is inhumane or humane. I'm not making any judgment. What I really feel is that as a business owner, you should understand the psychology side of it, because even if you're not using it actively, you want to make sure that accidentally you're not doing things that are hurting your business. Yeah. And that's very possible to do. For example, I had a client a few weeks ago. We had gone through and created her price list, and she was getting her website ready. And she had 2 offers, one for a very high priced group, high net worth individuals. And the second offer, there were 2 completely different offers, but one was targeted towards young adults who were just starting out in their careers. And so she had one offer on one webpage, the other offer on another, and then she had a pricing page, and she had the prices for both offers side by side, which from a psychology perspective meant that all the good work we had done was actually now working against her, because it felt like, because the prices were on the same page, like they were competing with each other. Whereas if she just removed the pricing page and put the price for the young adult offer here and the price for the high net worth individuals here, that comparison would not be made in the same way. That's what I mean by you have to understand, what these things are communicating, so that you can make sure you're not doing things in a way that is actually hurting your business or your customer's experience. Now, one of the things you and I had spoken about was the endings of prices, right?
Right.
I had that conversation.
Yeah.
Should it be 95 or 97 or 99 or 0? So I can't answer that question for everybody. That is going to be a very individual decision in each business. Here's what I can tell you, and then you can decide for yourselves what is going to be best suited for your company. Prices that end in 0 tend to be associated with more luxury goods. Prices that ends in 9s and 7s and 5s tend to be associated, especially when they put 95 cents. Or 99 cents at the end. Those tend to be associated with more companies that are playing towards the low price leader side of things. How do I know this? If you go into Louis Vuitton, you will never see $1,999.99.
Right.
You just won't see it.
No.
Yeah. You'll see 2,000, you'll see 2,500, 8,000, right? It's just, and the prices will be tiny on a little teeny tiny price tag.
Yeah.
You go to Migros or you go to Kmart or somewhere like that, they have big price tags with great big prices on them. And there's 99s and 95s at the bottom, right? So you have to, what sort of, how does this align with the value or with your purpose or brand? What's going to make more sense for you?
Yeah, and how is it going to resonate with your clients? Who are you trying to attract? If you have a big ticket, service and you price it with the 99 cents at the end, they probably won't like it.
Well, it depends, and it also depends. So here's another example. If you're a consultant, you're offering projects. If you offer a price of $25,000 versus $24,495, right? Then from the customer's perspective, $25,000 looks like a number that you kind of just pulled out of your back pocket. Whereas $24,495 looks like a number that you've actually spent some time considering. Does that make one better than the other? You have to be the judge about what you want or how you want to be perceived by your customers. What's going to make more sense? Right. Now, if you're in an industry or in a part of the world where you're going to be doing a lot of negotiation, then 25,000 may be just the easiest place to start. Right. But if you're looking not to do a whole lot of negotiation, you may start with a number that's more precise, because then it reflects that number is precise. Right.
And if you're in Morocco, because I just came back from 2 weeks in Morocco, I learned that you negotiate the price down to 30% of what they tell you, and then you go back up. Right. So yeah, that's something that we're completely not used to doing, the whole bargaining, right? So I don't recommend that.
No, and I think you're absolutely right. Think about who you're targeting, what they expect, what works both for you. Now, the 99s and the 97s, those work with target groups that are more price sensitive. Yeah, they do. I mean, studies have shown time and again that $14.99, people see the 14, they don't think 15. Yeah. Right. So if they were to see 15 and $14.99 next to each other, they would perceive the one $14.99 as being 14. Yeah. Now, that doesn't mean you have to use that in your business. You need to do what's right for you and for your clients. So understand why those things are things, if you will, and then decide, okay, what feels right for my business and for my audience, and lead with that, because that's most important to me, is that you believe in the number that you use.
Yeah, I think that permission piece is so important, because I've had people ask me, so do I need to do the 297? Can I not just, say 300 just because everybody else is doing it? And I'm like, no, just like you, it's like whatever you feel is right. And because when you price the way you feel is right, then if you've done your intense client work and know who your client is, well, then they will also resonate with that more than the 297. So,
and if you're really, really not sure, create 2 landing pages, change one to have a price of 297, one to have a price of 300, and A/B test it. Yeah. See what works better.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, okay, you'll make $3 or 3 francs less on each sale for the 297, depending on your margins. That could be that could make a difference or not. Hopefully not. But that's, test it out. Yeah. Who says you can't? No one.
I have a follow-up question on the comparison, because that's another example that I share in the book, and we see a lot where we have one same offer, but we have 3 different prices. Like one is the VIP offer, the other one the the one in the middle, and then the third one, and where you use that anchor system. So talk to us about that.
Yeah. So anchoring is actually really important. I always ask people, what's the best way to sell a 500 franc product? Put it next to a 1,500 franc product.
Right.
I mean, and it's actually true. Yeah. You may never sell the 1,500 franc product, but if it's there, because what you're doing, so the anchoring, the concept here is that people are going to want to compare it to something.
Right.
And if you give them something else on the page to compare it to, they don't necessarily have to go elsewhere to look for a comparison.
Right.
Right. So that can be really helpful. Now, also, not just the price, but what's included in each package. So you said the same offer, but there should be 3 different offers.
Sorry. Yeah. Same sales page, but
same sales page, but 3 different offers.
Yeah.
What's included in those offers can steer behavior as well as the price. So let's say that the middle offer is the one that you think is the best for most of your clients.
Right.
Then you can set it up to kind of steer most of them towards that.
Right.
Or if you don't want to use that, you need to make sure that you're not accidentally steering them in the wrong direction, right? So based on what's included and the price levels, you can help them navigate through the decision.
Gently influence them or navigate.
Well,
them.
let's face it. I mean, if I worked with a tool called Apathy, and it is a tool that allows you to take an Excel, like my pricing tools that I have on my website, they're Excel based.
Mm-hmm.
It takes the Excel tool and makes it into a web-based tool.
Okay.
So it just converts it. Magic. I love it. And when I wanted to use it, they had 3 offers.
Right.
And the first offer was you have access for one month or 3 months, I forget which. And then the next level up, it meant that you got a WordPress integration. And it was almost double the price. I thought, well, okay. But WordPress integration is really helpful. It can really solve a lot of problems. So I thought, okay, fine. And then the premium one came with phone support. And I thought, well, I don't know anything about web-based tools. I have no idea what I'm getting into. And it was only $10 more. So I think it went from like 30 to 60 to $70.
Okay.
And the middle one was 6 months and the last one was a 1-year access.
Okay.
So my logic was, okay, I want the WordPress integration. So I'm willing to pay double.
Right.
And have 6 months access.
Right.
And then in the next step, my logic was, I want the phone support or the priority support. I didn't really care about the 12 months. And it's only $10 more. Okay,
that's interesting. So they actually wanted you to get the third offer,
they
right?
did.
That's where they put their focus.
They absolutely did.
Mm-hmm.
They absolutely did. And if you start looking at, as you're buying things online, look at how they structure the offers, and you'll see very clearly, usually you can tell which one are the most profitable, or at least which one they're steering you towards. Wine lists at a grocery store, at a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
The most profitable wine for most restaurants will be the second most expensive, unlike by the glass. Glass. Why? Well, they know that most people don't know a lot about wine, so they're trying to, make a good choice, but they don't want to buy.
They don't want to embarrass themselves,
right?
by taking
so they're not going to buy the cheapest, and they're not going to buy the most expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So they buy the second most expensive, right?
Yeah, and that's kind of the traditional thing. So I was surprised that with this tool, they actually wanted you to get the highest one, even though it wasn't that much higher, because usually you see the third offer to be some kind of VIP, 10 times the middle. It
depends.
One. So it was interesting to, I've never seen.
It really depends. So sometimes you're right. Sometimes they use the premium offer as the main anchor, which means they make it so high priced to make everything look cheaper. But other times it's actually it's better for Apathy. It was better to have someone in there for a full year. because they had just started and they were working out some of the kinks in this web-based tool converter, if you will, for lack of a better phrase. And to have me on the phone with them. So it actually benefited them more to have people all the way over there.
Yeah. That feels like an honest offer. It feels like, okay, I see what you're doing, but it's a win-win situation. And that's what we want. So I'm going to share with you an example of one of my programs. So the Marketing Like We're Human program, I ran it in January and I had those 3 offers. So the first one was online only. I think it went for $500, and then the group program, 950, because I run it live only twice per year. And then the VIP program for 4,800, where they also got coaching besides the group program. And so I thought, the common advice is just put that VIP offer on there. You might sell one, but you might not. And to my surprise, I actually sold 3 and only 4 group programs. So I was like, what's going on here? Can you share some insights of what might have been happening there? Did I not put enough value maybe, or perceived value in the group offer, or what do you think was happening?
There's a lot of things that could be going on there. The price difference between 500 and 950 is not very big. Did you get anybody at the 500, or was it all
not for this?
Exactly.
Right?
So you made the barrier very low for them to go to the middle package.
Okay.
Yeah. So
which I wanted,
which
them
was
in
good,
the group.
right?
Yeah.
Which is good.
I wanted, probably. I mean, it was great that I had the 3 VIP. I would have wanted more for the middle one.
For the middle,
right? Yeah.
I think here it's just a matter of people wanting that one-to-one support. Yeah. So the big difference between the 2 packages, the middle and the top, was getting your one-to-one time.
Right.
Is that correct? Am I correct in that?
Yeah, that's the difference. Between the 2.
And I think for some things, I've had group programs as well, and I will continue to do, but I found most of my clients prefer to work one-on-one, because this is going to sound funny when I say it, but most people will assume that their pricing is special, right? And that it has to be done in a special way.
It's unique, and
right. And yes, every business is unique. Don't get me wrong. I use the same process with everyone, but as we go through that process, different businesses will require we focus on different areas with different levels of intensity, right? So it's same but different. And I would guess that the people who went for your VIP package, it was really because they wanted that one-to-one FaceTime with you. And they didn't think that the group would give them what they needed.
It's interesting. You get so much insights from, just this example. And then you're like, oh, what does that mean for me? Do I want to lower the VIP? Do I want to increase it because I actually want more people in the group? Or how do I play with that? And it's, it's just so.
I mean, I think in your case, you could play with increasing the one-to-one package, but maybe also bringing your group program over 1,000.
So it'll be interesting how it plays out for the next round. But I just thought I'd bring it up, and because these examples are real, and we're like, how do we do this? And it's basically just like, well, you try and then you figure out, okay, this worked, that didn't work. How do I improve it now?
Right.
But obviously
it could also be that, because they are, I would guess, the same but different, which is so specific, Janene, in that, one is a group, 2 of them are group program and 1 is individual. So having it in this tiered structure, it's, if you had, say, a VIP option that was part of the group, it was really a VIP experience of the group as opposed to a straight up one-to-one package, then you might see different results, right?
Right. Yeah. Again, what this tells me is that pricing is not just about a number that you put on the thing. It's also about your offering, right? Offering, pricing, same thing, really. It's like, well, how much value are you going to put into that price? And I think that's kind of what went wrong the last few years. And that's why I kind of attack some of these pricing strategies where they use these psychology hacks to, sell a program for 100,000, and the actual value is just very questionable often. Yeah. And so that's what we need to understand is like, well, what is the value that people actually get out from that offer?
Right. Well, I guess, if the business is, $500,000 business and they're looking to grow to be $1 million business, then investing $100,000 to grow your business to $1 million is a reasonable investment to expect to make, right?
Yeah, of course.
But if you're a $80,000 business and you're investing 100,000 to try and get to 200,000, then can the case be made? Probably. Would most people buy into it? Probably not, right?
Yeah.
So it's all contextual, and this is why I cannot emphasize enough when it comes to pricing. You always, always, always have to go back to who are you targeting?
Yeah.
Because if you're targeting businesses that are $80,000 businesses looking to get to 200, then $100,000 offer, frank offer, is probably not suitable for that target group.
Yeah.
And you can really make life difficult for you if you create an offer and then try to force that offer on the wrong target group.
Right. Yeah.
And let's face it, most businesses start with, this is what I offer. Now let me figure out who I can sell it to.
Yeah.
As opposed to starting with, I want to do something for this group of people with what I have. Let me figure out how I can best serve them.
So it feels like there's like two big problems. Either you price too low because you have all this baggage, or you grew up in a culture where the lowest price is the best idea, or you price too high to the wrong target audience. And I'm sure there's tons of other problems, but these are kind of the two that stand out from our conversation. Would you agree?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's much, regardless of whether or not you know what let me think about how I want to say this. So the probability that you will over or underprice is relatively high. The more you understand about pricing, the more you can reduce that likelihood, right, of being under overpriced. Doesn't mean it doesn't happen, but even if, and here's another interesting part of the psychology. So even if your price is a little bit high, if you're really good at communicating the value, you'll sell it anyhow.
Yeah.
Now you don't want it to be icky sales, but let's say, you always use this example, so let me just use it again. There are two lemonade stands. You're walking down the street, you run across two lemonade stands. One says lemonade 25 cents, the other says lemonade 50 cents. Which one do you buy? Okay, in most parts of the world, you might buy one from each kid if they're two cute little kids selling lemonade, and just give the other one a 25-cent tip, call it a day. But what if the one that is 50 cents also says clean water included?
Yeah, and that's the marketing piece.
That's the pricing psychology piece from the communication standpoint. That child is communicating the value of what they deliver better. Now, it may be that they are a brother and sister and mom is in the kitchen making the lemonade, but because one of them communicated the value differently, people are more willing to pay the 50 cents. Right. And let's say you're in a country where clean water isn't assumed, then they have an even bigger advantage. So the better that you can communicate the value of your offer, to some degree, not on a big scale, but to some degree, the more wiggle room you have in terms of, overpricing, let's say, over underpricing.
And that's exactly why, and what we said at the beginning, it's not just about the number. In fact, the number, you can change it however you want, almost with boundaries, but it's about communicating that value.
Absolutely.
So key.
And I was saying most people struggle to really understand. I see this in my clients all the time. This is where they struggle the most when we get to the value piece. Consistently. I mean, there are struggles in different areas, but there's something about that attaching a number, because when we do the value work, we don't just talk about benefits. Benefits are not value.
Right.
It's what people get from those benefits that creates value. And you need to be able to understand the benefits so that you can understand how those create value and then quantify that value. And when it comes to quantifying value, and no, it makes people feel really uncomfortable.
But it's hard because again,
clients,
your worth kind of gets in there. It's like, really?
Yeah. And they're like, well, what if it's, I can't guarantee it. I'm like, I'm not asking you to guarantee it. I'm asking you to tell a story about the value that people can get. You can choose to share that with clients or not. It's up to you. But if you don't understand what it is, then how can you believe in any price that you put out there? You can't. And if you don't,
this I look at the hour and I'm like, oh no, we have to wrap up. But I'm so glad we brought up the value pricing, because that was kind of in the questions I had prepared and we just kind of jumped over it. But this idea of pricing for value and not like your Dutch client just for time exchanged, or let me get the cheapest offer out there so that I get the most clients. It is so important, and I think it cannot be repeated enough. And you're right, it's difficult. I mean, it's you
have to believe in the value that you bring. And if you don't look at it and put number to it, then you will really struggle to believe in it. And like I said, if you don't, they won't. There's always a few gem clients out there who believe in spite that you don't. But those are often few and far between. And the best thing for you and for your clients is that you understand and believe in the value that you bring.
This has been so good. Thanks so much, Janene. This has been really valuable. I wish we could, maybe we will do a second round, part two. But do share with our listeners where they can find out more about you and how you work with clients and all of that.
I encourage people to head on over to thepricinglady.com. Very easy to remember. I have a podcast. You'll find some great information on there as well, and regular guests, and also solo cast episodes, which are a little bit more instructional. And of course, if you'd like to book a call, you can find that there as well.
Wonderful. And I have one last question, and that is, what are you grateful for today or this week, this month?
I'm grateful for opportunities like this. I really enjoy sharing this topic with people and helping people to think differently about it so that they can gain momentum towards having a more sustainably profitable business. So thank you very much, Sarah. Thanks for everyone for listening.
Thank you, Janene. Take care. Thanks so much for watching and being part of a generation of marketers who cares for yourself, for your clients, and for the planet. We really are change makers before we are marketers. So go ahead, be the change you want to see in the world. And I hope to see you again next week. Take care.